All right, welcome in everybody. Welcome back to College Baseball Central. I'm joined with the head man of the LSU Tigers, Coach Gage Johnson. How you doing today, Coach?
Good, Alex. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. Enjoyed seeing you and the boys playing this weekend in Houston. How did you feel like that weekend went?
Yeah, it was a great week for our team. We headed out to Texas on Monday, had a good workout on Tuesday, great win on the road at Rice. Thought we played really well. And then, to win that Astros Classic is always a great feather in your cap, with the amount of good teams, quality competition, and what an environment. I mean, just a special environment for our players to get to play in that stadium, which is now becoming one of the iconic stadiums in Major League Baseball with the success the Astros have had. And, obviously our connection to it with Alex Bregman and the location for the fans. I mean, them showing out in full force for 3 games this week was amazing. And really happy with how our team played, pitched well, defended well, and took a ton of quality at bat. So good step forward and ready for a good week this week.
Yeah, you've kind of made that week in Texas at the beginning of the season kind of a tradition for your teams. You talk about how important it is for team bonding, to get the team away and stuff like that. So what did you learn about your team this week?
Well, I think we just kind of elevated our mindset. I do think we have good players. I think settling into the season sometimes is a real thing. For me, improvement is always at the forefront of what we want to do. And, I saw a lot of improvement. I think saw a lot of guys take a step in confidence. I think our team will play with more confidence because of that week. And I'm excited about that because you have to have that as we turn the page and, into this week and then into the SEC schedule.
Yeah, certainly. Somebody who has to have a ton of confidence right now is Luke Hullman. What went into the decision to kind of move him up a little bit in rotation and start him on Friday?
Yeah, it actually kind of was dating back a little bit. I mean, obviously everybody saw his performances the first 2 weeks of the season, but his last 2 in inter squads against us were very impressive as well. So especially the one right before the season started. And, we believe that, we have 3 top-notch starters, maybe even 4, to be honest with you, with Kade Anderson, maybe even 5 with Javen Coleman. But Luke is just going to give you a quality start. We're going to be in and have a chance to win every game he pitches against any team in the country at any time because he has a lot of ways he can be successful. And just seemed like the right time to do it this week.
Yeah, there's been a lot of lineup changes. I think there's only 3 guys that have started every game this season. But who's the guy that hasn't got a ton of playing time yet, but you're having a really hard time keeping him out of the lineup?
I think there's a lot of them. I mean, it's honestly when I write out the lineup, there's a feeling of there's 2 guys or 3 guys that I'd like to play. Ethan Fry comes to mind, and he's had a couple starts. Guy I like a lot. Ashton Larson's had some good at-bats and pinch hit roles. I mean, my feeling is, there's guys on this team that'll move on to professional baseball that those are the guys that will be replacing them. It doesn't always have to come from the outside. It can come from the inside, kind of like this year. There's guys that have bigger roles this year than they did last year. But there's a lot of them like that. Josh Pearson, the Omaha hero, and he hadn't started a few games. I think he started like 9 of the 12. And so a lot of interchangeable parts. We want to keep everybody healthy, keep everybody strong. And I think, with this team, the depth is the strength of the team, and some of those times those decisions are tough because you're not choosing somebody over somebody. It's just like, this is what we're going to do for that day. And if you replaced them with the other guy, maybe the game wouldn't even turn out that differently. So good recruiting in terms of depth, and really excited about, the entire position player group.
It seems like a guy that really has meant a lot to this team, both from a production standpoint and a leadership standpoint, is Hayden Travison. He's been one of those 3 guys I mentioned that have started every game, different positions, but has started every game. Talk a little bit about him and what his leadership means to this team.
Yeah, he had a really good season last year once we put him in there and he was healthy and is incredibly productive. I think it flew under the radar a little bit because of, Tommy White, Dylan Cruz, Cade Beloso, Trey Morgan, the impact, Gavin Dugas, the impact those 5 guys had. But I mean, Hayden was hitting 4th the entire NCAA tournament until he got hurt in Omaha. And so that just tells you kind of where he was rolling. But I think what's cool about it for this year is he's healthy. And this is his team. That was always kind of those guys' team. But he stayed, and I'm glad that he did. The production was awesome. I thought he had a great week this week in Houston. And then the leadership part, as you mentioned, he's on it and doing a great job. So really proud of him.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that, about Cade Anderson, how he's really come along. He had a really great start to his season so far. Any chance he makes his way into the weekend rotation?
I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now, to be honest with you. But would I feel good if we had to do that with Cade? I absolutely would, is probably the best way to answer that. He's got a great future here. I definitely think it's not a stretch that someday he'll pitch on Friday or Saturday, at LSU, whether that's this year or next year. I don't know, but I know that when he takes the mound, I feel comfortable and confident that we have a great chance to win.
It seems like Stephen Milam has really kind of taken a stranglehold over that second base position. That looked like maybe at the beginning of the season might be a little bit of a platoon situation. How have you seen him develop and grow into that role?
He's a great competitor. He's a great game player. And I think sometimes we can forget how big a jump it is from high school baseball to a place like LSU. And, look at our pitching staff. I mean, that's not an easy fall baseball situation to walk into. And so he had some things that he needed to improve. But I'm very impressed with Steven. We laid out what those things were, at the end of the fall and said, these are the targets you need to hit to be the best player that you can be for our team and for yourself. And I mean, he's more than exceeded those targets. And I love his competitive element in the game. And I think the best is yet to come for him.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly had a great weekend this weekend. Another person that's really improved is Jared Jones. I mean, there was the strikeout rate last year was a little, more than what you'd want. But it seems like he's really, toned that down. The power's always been there, and he's certainly shown that. He's another one of those guys that's started every game. Can you talk a little bit about his development?
Yeah, I'm very happy with that, and I'm very proud of Jared for that. And he's a great player for us last year. I mean, he hit 14 home runs as a freshman in the SEC. I think he was one of our top 3 or 4 hitters in SEC play last year on that team, and really contributed to us winning a national championship. But as you said, just like we talked about with Steven, there's marks that we need to get some personal improvement for him to be the best hitter and player he can be, on top of, helping our team win. And I thought Friday's game was the best game that he's played at LSU. And it wasn't just the production, it was the closeness that he looked like to being an elite hitter. And, I think we're moving in a really good direction there, and I'm proud of him for that.
Tommy White had had off-season surgery. I mean, he didn't swing a bat for almost 7 months, but here he is hitting well over 300. Power hasn't, quite been there yet to the extent of, at least not to the extent it was last year. But talk a little bit about how he's kind of coming along after the surgery and after his injury.
I think he's doing good. I think when you have your first 2 years of college baseball that he's had in terms of your performance, you almost create this unmeetable standard. It's a little bit different than a guy who maybe flew under the radar for a year or two. You know what I mean? Like, he's done no flying under the radar. And, he's the targeted guy in the lineup, and he's been incredibly productive. And I think if you ask Tommy, he'd say, man, he's not totally even dialed in yet. And yet you look up and he's hitting 340 and has a bunch of RBIs. And I'm good with where he's at. And he sure impacts the game in a lot of ways. I'm really impressed with his defensive improvement. He's played very good at third base, which he deserves a lot of credit for the work that he's put in. And he shows up when you need him. It was a big home run on Friday night, and had a big hit to kind of break the dam open in that game on Sunday against Texas State. You feel him in the box. That game against UL, I mean, he was on base in both innings that we scored. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah, another guy that transferred in last year is Gage Jump. He's been pretty impressive so far on the mound. Been kind of working back slowly. Seemed like 50 pitches the weekend before, about 75 pitches this weekend. Is he about ready to be full go?
Yeah, I think we're moving in that direction, and we're always going to take care of our pitchers and their arms and their health, and do everything we can to help them stay healthy, get stronger as it goes along. And you're talking about a guy that hadn't pitched in a competitive game since April of 2022. Before taking the mound at the beginning of the season, and so we just wanted to do it right. This was not a surprise to me, like that there was going to be a buildup. As we were recruiting him, we talked to him about that, like that we would be okay with transitioning him into the season. Obviously, when you watch him pitch, you can see why I would be eager to want to get him to full strength, especially Friday night. But we're not really off track, other than maybe he didn't have a full game in week 1 or week 2. But other than that, I mean, we're pretty much right on track because, I think he went 74 pitches. He wouldn't go over 90 at this point, or start an inning over 90. So we're really not that far away, and really excited to keep him going like this.
We've got about 6 more games until you start SEC play. What are you still looking for, from your team or from anyone individually, to maybe be ready for SEC play?
Yeah, I mean, this because you follow us. Like, for us, it's kind of about be where your feet are, task at hand, right here, right now type thing. We got a really important game tomorrow night at Southeastern Louisiana, who won that East Carolina tournament this weekend. Great team. And then Xavier on the weekend, who I've never played, but they were a regional team last year. Really competitive. They always play a really tough schedule like they have this year. So we're anticipating a good battle. And then we got a 2-game midweek next week against North Dakota State. So not even really on the horizon yet in terms of my mind. But we're excited about it. Starkville, it's a great place to play, to open up there. And then, you look at all 10 weeks and you go like, wow, what a battle. I just have so much respect for the teams in our league and the players in our league that it's the most challenging 11 weeks of the calendar for me is, SEC play and SEC tournament.
After each of the wins, we saw some of the pitchers wearing, that tiger chain. How did that start? Where did that come from?
I don't know anything about it, actually. Somebody asked me about that. And I was like, it didn't come from me. I got news for you. But, good for them. They have fun with that stuff. We want them to have fun playing baseball at LSU. And so, we want to be straight ahead with some of the baseball things that we need to do to be successful. But I have no problem. I guess maybe it's a play on like one of those football teams having like the turnover deal. Like, I guess if you're the pitcher of the game, maybe you get a chain with the tie. I don't know, but as long as it's in line, I have no problem with them having fun with that.
Another transfer that came in this year was Justin Lohr. He had a really good weekend this weekend. He looked like he was, on fire this weekend. He was passionate, kind of talking to himself. Maybe looked a little bit different than he kind of did the first couple of weeks. What have you seen any change in him, or what do you think led to that?
Yeah, no, I really trust Justin. He's one of my favorite guys on the team because of how important being a good player is, and us winning baseball games is important to him. He's not here for just, hey, I want to just improve myself for the draft and move on. I think he's going to be a pro pitcher and be drafted, but winning and playing for us is important to him. And you can see that in the passion that he pitches with. And I actually have a different opinion on it. I thought his first 2 outings were really good. And then his third outing, he wasn't quite as sharp And I think maybe had just gotten a little bit fatigued because the weekend before the season, we had him go twice just to get him used to doing that. And then we gave him a full week off before we put him in on Saturday. And I thought his stuff looked really good and obviously performed really good in that game at a really important time in a great atmosphere. So that was great to see also. So he's going to be a big part of what we're doing here this year.
A big name that came in this year was Cam Johnson. He's had kind of a rough start to his LSU career. Can you talk a little bit about his development and what you're hoping to see from him as the year progresses?
Yeah, improve, get better, and he did from his second outing to his first outing. And again, I said this earlier in reference to another player. Like, this is such a big jump. Like, just because somebody has you on a draft board or this or that, like, it doesn't mean that this is not a big jump. You know what I mean? And the reality of it is it takes time to get better, to settle in. And he definitely will. I think he had such a good fall that you sometimes forget it, and everybody can see how talented that he is. But Cam will be a big part of our future here. I think he'll contribute this year. I don't think he won't not contribute this year, and has a chance to be a superstar here, and couldn't be happier to have him. I mean, his last outing, he was up to 95. He was more in the strike zone. Good off-speed pitch for a strike. And, he actually was sick. He was going to pitch on Wednesday at Rice and was sick, so we couldn't get him in that game. But excited to get him back on the mound again.
Kade Woods is another transfer who came in this year, who we haven't seen a ton of, so far this season. But he led Alabama in appearances last year. When can we expect to see some more of him?
Yeah, he threw yesterday, and had a little bit of things he was working through arm wise in January, and then we just need to get him back to his best self. Him and Coach Yeski have a really good working relationship. I really like Kade. I thought the weekend before the season, the outing was good. And he'll be like we were just talking about with Cam. I think he has a chance to, maybe we're not hearing a ton about him now. I think he's a guy that could move up the ladder. And, we have a lot of games here over the next week. I think we play 6 games, here in 7 days coming up. So I would assume you'll see all these guys on the mound at some point over the next week.
Gavin Gidry is a guy that came in, last year. He kind of got pressed into service on the mound after some injuries and really, flashed, and it was a key piece in the national championship run last year. And you mentioned, I think when we talked at the beginning of the season, he's one of, if not the most important pitcher on your staff. What have you seen so far from him this year? Looks like he's throwing some more pitches and, doing a little bit more than necessarily maybe what he was last year.
Yeah, I think he's continually improving. I thought he was really sharp this weekend. I thought, we were winning that game 4-0. They hit a homer, kind of took the momentum back. It was 4-3. And then we got Gavin in the game, and he struck out 3 of the 4 hitters that he faced right there. And I thought we completely got the momentum back in our dugout. And that's what he does. That's what he does. I mean, that's like him to a T. And then, I thought I had the run differential thing for winning the tournament right. I wasn't even sure that was the criteria, to be honest with you. But I was like, well, if it's run differential, then we need to keep that guy on second base. And I want him to pitch him a little more, actually. We've had several games where there's been a big spread. We've used him kind of in a certain way so far. So I was happy to get him in for that last out, and he was ready to roll and is ready to roll. I think he's kind of hitting his stride right now at perfect timing.
Well, Coach, I won't take up any more of your time, but I greatly appreciate it. You've been very gracious to me and I thank you for that. And looking forward to watching you guys get better every week.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Thanks.